We looked at the religious problem, and now let's look at the philosophical problem. Now, philosophical problem itself can be divided into two problems. It has two forms: metaphysical problem and epistemological problem. And even though this philosophical problem goes back to ancient philosophy and medieval philosophy, in its specific present form is the problem of modern philosophy.
Okay, I found this on the web for is the problem.
So the philosophical problem is the problem of modern philosophy, which is relevant to our discussion here. And basically it was given a canonical form by Descartes. And Descartes initiated two traditions within modern philosophy. One is empiricist, the other is rationalist. It's just very simplifying the whole thing, and then empiricists like British empiricists, Locke, Hume, and Berkeley. Rationalists like Leibniz and Spinoza, and just various followers of Leibniz in Germany. And these two traditions were synthesized by Kant in his transcendental philosophy, where tried to reconcile empiricism and rationalism. And in the wake of Kant, we had Hegel, who tried to take Kant's problem with some of Kant's assumption, but basically saying that Kant had failed to do what he had. So Hegel tried to resolve that problem. So Iqbal is, in a sense, since he is reading the philosophical problem in Hegelian lines, we need to understand the Hegel solution a bit, but it would be good to, have the whole picture, at least in its outline, in front of us. Okay, so let's go to the metaphysical problem first. Now, the metaphysical problem. The metaphysical problem is, in a nutshell, what is the nature of reality around us? Including ourselves. What is the nature of reality around us? Is there one type of reality? All reality is one type or one nature? Or one essence? So that's one of the solution, which we'll say is called monism. So monists can be at least of two types. One, those who say that nature is really material, so the only reality is material. And so, for example, then we would have to explain how ideas and mind and spirit could have emerged from matter. So, for example, or monism could be materialism, yeah. And the other one is idealism. The real nature of everything is idea or mind. Or spirit, depending on what type of. Then obviously you have to define what idea is, what mind is, what matter is, and how matter is different from mind. So this is monism. But then you have what we call dualism. So the problem of monism is to explain how something which has the same essence looks so totally different, or a lot different from each other. So matter, like this table, and my thinking, for example, how they have the same nature, the same basic nature. Doesn't matter whether you are materialist or idealist or spiritualist. You have, so monists believe that there's one nature. So monists, the problem of monists is to explain how it seems to us that at least there are two types of natures or two types of reality. So the problem of monism is to explain the apparent duality, if not multiplicity. On the other hand, dualist says that there are two natures and they are irreducible to each other. Most dualists say one is matter, the other is mind. Some call it spirit. And now the problem so dualist is able to explain the apparent duality. But the dualism, the problem become epistemological in the sense that if matter and mind are totally different from each other or different in kind, at the metaphysical level, the problem would be how they interact. An epistemological question would be if my mind is totally different from matter, how my mind knows the matter. So dualism has to explain the epistemological gulf between subject and object, because subject is supposed to be mind, thinking subject, and object is supposed to be without mind. So how do they interact with each other? How as a mind I know the reality, which is non-mental, totally different from my mind, even my body, and how my mind and body interact with each other. So these were the problems which Descartes, for example, struggled with. Okay. Now, in this context, we can understand the Kantian tradition and then Hegelian tradition. Just to recapitulate what we have said so far, the problem, metaphysical problem, is about the nature of reality around us. And there are two solutions which have been presented: monisms of various type, but in modern philosophy, two are materialism and idealism, and number two is dualism, that reality is of two types, two basic distinct types, mainly matter and mind. Now, the problem for monists is to explain the apparent duality which we see. And the problem for dualists is to explain, if matter and mind are totally different, how do they interact with each other? And the second is the question of knowledge. If mind is totally different from matter, and if my knowledge apparatus is mental, how do I come to know matter, that is the world around me, and including my body? And obviously Descartes gave an answer to these questions, and Descartes' answers, initiated various debates, led to two schools of thought within Cartesian followers, Cartesian philosophers who were basically Cartesian, although that might be a bit of a controversial point. But one is empiricism. So basically British empiricism, Locke, Berkeley, and Hume. And then you have a continental rationalism. So you have Spinoza, and you have Leibniz and his followers in Germany. And then Kant comes and tries to synthesize these two schools. And then Hegel comes and says that Kant really didn't succeed, but we can, following Kant's basic ideas, we can actually arrive at a solution. So he tried to radicalize Kant in a way. And doing that, basically rejected a lot of Kant's assumptions. So to understand Iqbal's reading, though, we need to just go through a bit of Kant's solution and then Hegel, basically. And then we will be able to see how in these sections which we just read, Iqbal is trying to read the religious problem through philosophical lens, and by doing that, I will argue that he basically imposes the philosophical problem on a tradition to which it's a totally alien problem in a way, and as a result distorts that tradition. But I think this segment we should stop here. In the next segment I will talk briefly about Kant and Hegel, and then in the final segment we will go back to the text we read at the start and see if this discussion has made any difference to our understanding of the text. Okay, See you in the next.